Greetings. Welcome to Mobilize and Energize. If you have joined me for one of these classes before, you know this is one of my absolute favorite classes to teach because it is all about feeling good. It's all about taking care of our amazing bodies and just giving our bodies a ton of self-love. So I'm going to be leading you through a lot of movements with the foam roller today. I hope you have a foam roller at home. If you don't, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go get a foam roller immediately. It's one of my favorite fitness tools that I have at my disposal, both for myself and my clients. So hopefully you've got one handy. We'll be using it shortly. And without further ado, let's begin. So just planting your feet right underneath your hips. I encourage you to close your eyes here as we begin and just start with a nice gentle body scan. So without any judgment, just notice what you're feeling in your body, starting with the connection your feet are making with the floor. Noticing if you feel balanced or if you feel your weight swaying to one side or the other. Notice your shoulders, hips, even the crown of your head, your jaw. Just take notice of where you might be noticing anything that feels tension, any tightness, if there's scrunching in the shoulders or rounding. And finally, just bringing it all to your breath. So notice your rib cage and notice the ease or lack thereof that you have in your breath. So let's just slow down before we speed up, taking some nice gentle inhales. Noticing if on every exhale, maybe we can let go a little bit. Just finding those places where the tension is holding on and just see if we can let that melt away just a little bit each exhale. And finally, on our next inhale, maybe choosing a positive energy to infuse ourselves with, whether it's kindness, love, optimism, hope. Breathing that in and then just letting go. And I really encourage you to let go of all self-judgment today, especially as we go through some of our introductory movements. So let's bring our feet out a little bit wider. Hopefully we feel a little bit more connected to our body now, and we're going to move into a challenging posture, maybe challenging for some, maybe not everybody, but we're going to just experiment and see how we feel here at the beginning of our movement practice, and then we can compare with how we feel at the end. So planting our feet just a little wider than hip width. Let's just imagine with me, imagine that we're camping in the woods and there are no facilities. So we need to drop into the lowest squat that we can. So I want you to just notice what's changed between being in that tall, stacked position. And if you're uncomfortable there, feel free to come out of it and then maybe we can come back into it. But I want you to just pay attention. I'll show a side view too. Pay attention to what happens at your ankles, at your knees, your hips, your spine, neck. Just notice, have we gotten into a position where our breathing feels more restricted? Are the heels pulling off the ground? Are we feeling a lot of stress and tension here in the low back? Is our neck like scrunched up like this and our shoulders up next to our ears, right? So let's come on out of it. Shake all of that off. That's going to be, this is a good test, right? We've got all these different joints involved in that movement, and that's going to be something that we can utilize to compare in the end of our session. So just take a mental picture of what that felt like. And now let's get the foam roller. Drop your shoulders down and back. We're going to just glide the foam roller down the fronts of our legs without rounding our spine. We'll do a few of these little hip hinge. You know, it's almost like you're reaching for your toes, but I definitely want you to watch your spine. Just think about pushing your glutes back behind you. And then on this next one, let's just set the roller down and we'll make our way to a seated position. So we'll begin our unblocking or unlocking the blocks, releasing our blocks with our ankles. So I've just placed the roller behind my kind of my Achilles tendon area below the muscular portion of my calf. And I've stacked my other foot on top. I'm just going to do some nice gentle rolling here. And it's very normal if you're feeling like that bottom foot wants to like tense up and you're flexing your toes towards your shin. So I encourage you to just let that roller do its job by letting the foot be like a limp noodle, and maybe even kind of pausing in one spot and making some big circles with your ankle. So I like to say, imagine you've got a flashlight beam coming out of the bottom of your foot and you're trying to make a big circle of light all around the room, right? So if it's a little bit uncomfortable, that's normal. This is kind of like deep tissue massage, but the results are so worth it. So short-term discomfort for long-term gain, I say. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. I've gone over my other ankle. And if this is particularly intense for you, you're welcome to take your top leg off and just let the weight of this one leg do the work. I'm feeling like getting a little bit more from this. So I'm stacking my legs, rolling. And I don't know if you can see from that angle, but I'm kind of windshield wipering my bottom foot a little bit side to side to get into all the angles, and then I'll go back to those ankle circles. So I will say the more often that you foam roll, if this is not a part of your regular practice, the more often you do it, the less uncomfortable it becomes. So you have that to look forward to if this is something that is not common in your weekly practice. But it does depend a little bit on what activities you've been up to. If you've been doing a lot of heavy workouts and things like that, you might find that your muscles are just holding a lot of tension, a lot of lactic acid is there, and that can be a little bit more uncomfortable. So I'm going to go back to the first leg, going into the calf muscle. We won't spend a ton of time here, but just give that calf a little love with maybe 10, 15 seconds. Again, kind of windshield wipering the toes so that you can get into all the different areas of that calf muscle. I'm often really surprised. I don't realize sometimes how much I'm holding in my muscles or how, like wound up they are until I start doing this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how much I really needed this. And it's so beneficial. So we'll get off the legs in just a moment, but I'm going to do my other side. If you want more, by the way, you're welcome to push into your hands, lifting your hips off the ground, and that just adds even more intensity to that massage on that muscle. So you can really adapt this foam rolling technique in so many ways. So let's give the lower body a little rest, and we'll come up to the upper back. So finding a position where that roller is like mid back or above. We don't want it down in the low spine at all. Just gently support your head. We don't want to collect any new tension in the neck. So just make a nice little cradle for your head. And breathing nice and calm. We're just rolling up and down our shoulder blades. So we took our attention to our breath there in the very beginning of our class together. And I just want to remind you to keep coming back to that nice, easy breath, sending messages to our brain that we're safe and that everything's okay. That's so important. So my roller was kind of getting away from me. That's totally normal. So reposition. So it's just right at the base of your shoulder blades. Hips are going to stay on the mat. And we're just going to gently support our head while we lean back, taking in a nice cleansing breath here in our lungs, making more space, and exhale. Blow it all out like a balloon. So think about this hollowing out effect. So if you work at a computer or a desk or drive a lot during the day, you might end up very stuck in this forward position. So we just want to let that unwind, reminding our spine that we're capable of flexing in both directions, right? It's just opening up, making more space to take in our life force, our breath. And then exhaling all the way out, creating a little bit of tension here, right? And as you finish these up, we'll stay with this movement for a couple more reps. Make sure that your gaze is forward. I know we've got a screen in front of us, so it's tempting to turn our head to the side, but that puts us into a rotated position. So go ahead and finish these in this nice aligned position. And then we'll come onto our side. So I want to open up this space and do a little bit of rotation. This can be done with or without the roller. So I'm going to show it first with the roller. And then we can know that you can always take the roller out. So we're kind of lying on our side here, and I've got the roller positioned just behind my armpit. This palm is facing up. So first, I'm just going to start to push into my knees. My hips are sort of gliding over the mat. And I'm just going to roll out that space behind my armpit. So this one can be a little bit brutal as far as this is an area we don't often stretch enough. The muscles can be really tight without us realizing it. So breathe, try to smile on it, send the brain that message, we're safe, we're safe. Okay, so to the degree that that's tolerable for you, if you want to keep the roller for this part, you can do it or take it away. I'm stacking my fingertips right on top of each other, and I'm going to fan my arm open and follow my hand to my gate, follow my hand with my eyes to the degree that I can. So we want to see if we can rotate our whole chest, shoulders, our neck in that same direction. Let's do 3. Inhaling and exhaling, letting it all go. Okay, so moving over to the other side, we'll repeat all that. So placing the roller here, just do what you can with this one. I know this one can kind of take our breath away, rolling the lats. I've worked on pull-ups recently, and that's very tight for me right now. So you can kind of experiment with working a little bit further back. I always say with the roller, let your body be your guide. You know, it'll kind of, once you get going with it, your body will tell you what it needs, right? So follow that intuition. And let's do these nice big chest openers on this side. Breathing in, just noticing as we go through some of these elements here that are a little bit uncomfortable. There is a little bit of discomfort sometimes with foam rolling. It's not all lovely massage time. But just notice if you can breathe through those things and know that you're getting huge benefits. So grab a quick sip of water as we transition. That's actually a really important note I hadn't thought about bringing up, but as we do this sort of massage, this deeper tissue massage, your body will be releasing toxins by doing that. So awesomely beneficial, but we do want to drink a ton of water afterwards. It's just like when you get a massage and they always tell you to drink a ton of water. Same thing after foam rolling. So now let's come into like a tabletop position. I'm going to face you because I'll bring one leg out to the side. So now the side of my ankle is sort of resting on my roller. Make sure your shoulders are stacked. Make sure you're not scrunched into your neck. And we're just going to start to shift our hips back toward our heel. And that will naturally allow this roller to glide up into your calf. And you're going to notice a big stretch on this inner thigh area. So think about keeping your arms locked out at the elbow and pushing your palms into the floor. I'm going to go ahead and rotate to the other side for you. I'm going to do the side view this time so that you can see my side view. So I'm bringing my other leg out, resting it on that roller. Let my shoulders settle down, and I'm just going to start to reach my hips back. And know that all of our bodies are different. We all make different shapes when we stretch. We all have different areas where we are a little bit more restricted or tight, and then other areas where we have a lot of freedom in our joints. Again, I'm reminding you, just no judgment to your body, right? Let's just embrace whatever our bodies can do in this moment in time. So next movement, that's a good preface for our next movement because I have 2 options. Depending on how you're feeling today, if your hips are very tight or if your low back is somewhat tender, option 1 is what I encourage you to do. Coming to your tabletop, and this might just be a good place to start. Bring one foot forward towards your forward hand and make some circles, okay? Option 2, if you're familiar with a runner's lunge, which is like a little bit deeper, like this, you can bring the roller underneath your shin. And I call this a twisty runner's lunge because I'm sort of twisting my torso. Having the roller there is just kind of facilitating my leg gliding forward and back. And so I'm getting a lot of movement here in my hip. Remember, you've got a ball and socket joint there. And I'm also getting rotation in my torso. So I'll show the front view for the other side. So if we're going to that first movement, sort of intro movement, we've got our hip circles, which feels so nice. And this is a great place to warm up for that deeper runner's lunge. So if you're feeling good with that and you want to try the runner's lunge, just bring the roller underneath your shin, plant the hands. I'm going to walk my foot in a little closer for this one. And I'm just sort of gliding, letting that roller glide up and down my shin, which feels kind of awesome. Again, remember that kind of windshield wipering that you did before with the roller on your calf? You kind of want to think about that similar thing now that your toes are pointing downward, just allowing that roller to kind of get to the left and right of your shin bone without grinding down right on the shin bone itself. So that's my recommendation there. So from here, let's just come to a nice tall seated position. So maybe we feel a little different already than when we started, but notice if you're still feeling a little bit slouchy, if this is tight, we're going to keep working on things, don't worry. But to the best of your ability, sit up nice and tall, reach your pinkies towards that roller, and without rounding, let's see if we can just let the roller glide out in front of us. And it can be as big or small as you like, but we want to avoid collapsing down. I want to stay nice and lifted and very intentional about what we're doing here with maintaining posture and getting a stretch at the same time. So if you're feeling comfortable, let's just try a couple of nice big arm circles on each side. So it's like a kind of like a backstroke type movement. Again, just working on developing a bigger range of motion in all of our joints. Okay, so now let's transition to a standing position. We'll be using the roller again shortly, but for this next little bit, if you have a yoga mat or a towel or something, I encourage you to roll it so that you can use that to elevate your toes. So I'm just going to put my foot there so it doesn't unroll. So if you don't have this available right now, do not worry. It's not that big of a deal. But we're just going to create a little more length in the back of the legs by elevating the toes a little bit. So I'm separating my feet into a split stance, dropping my shoulders down and back. Let's kind of take notice of our rib cage. In a moment, we're going to be doing some upper body movement that's going to challenge our posture. So I want you to notice if you can take a big inhale and exhale and sort of compress the ribs down to create this nice braced position. Like imagining if somebody was about to like come and slap you in the belly, right? So from here, drop your shoulders down and back. We're going to bring the arms to prayer and just bend at the knee like we're crouching down to pick something up. So I am choosing to keep my back heel down, mobilizing my ankle. And then I'm going to bring the arms up and experiment with bending my front knee, just kind of leaning forward. So we're starting to get into more challenging postures. And then maybe even bringing my thumbs down to the nape of my neck and practicing a couple more of these little baby squats each way. Notice if you can still breathe comfortably, and then let's bring our arms out like an arrow coming straight out from our chest. Shoulders are dropped down, and we'll just fan the arms open one way. Breathing in, finding more space, and then we'll go the other way. Breathing in and out, and then let's step our back foot in front. So now I'm crossed over, and just play around with a forward fold. And I don't mind this time if you allow your spine to round, just let your head be heavy. If this gets too intense on the leg that has your toes elevated, you can absolutely step off that mat at any time. And then let's roll on up and repeat all that on the other side. So I'm going to plant my other toes on the top of my roller, finding about that similar split stance. And again, just calm your breathing down. That was a little bit intense maybe at the end. So let's just reset. Bring attention to our rib cage, right? Find that grounding through our feet. And then we'll bring our hands here to prayer. and begin with our little crouchy squats. These are sort of like just little knee bends. We're pushing our knee out over our toe a little bit, which if that causes discomfort for you, take that easy, but we're not loading this with weights or anything like that. So I don't feel too worried right now about allowing the knee to push forward. Okay, before I forget, let's bring the arms up overhead. And drive the knee forward slightly. And then let's bring the arms up if this is available to you. If you notice that you've gone into a really deep back bend, see if we can correct that. If that's not available to you today, let's just come back to bringing the hands to prayer in front of the chest or overhead. But if this is fun to kind of experiment with these different challenging positions, go for it. So now here we are in our chest opener. And bring it back. Opening and wide. And then stepping this foot in front. Just releasing the upper body. Let your head be heavy. Exhale, sigh out any tension that might have collected in your jaw, in your face. Just give yourself a moment to smile. And then we'll roll on up. Okay, so we can bring our mat back to flat. And let's just start getting back towards our experimenting into our deeper squat. So maybe we have a little bit more freedom in the legs now. So let's take a nice big inhale. Exhale. Let's bend our knees as much as we need to so that we can clasp onto our big toes maybe. So if we can hold our big toes or maybe like underneath the toe of your shoe if you're wearing shoes. Let's see if we can pull our hips down into a deep squat. And maybe we just kind of rock a little bit, kind of hang out, and then press our hips to the sky and roll on up. If that's way too much for you still today, and these are things we can work on over time, you can just explore how it feels to drop into your deepest, best squat of the day. Okay, so choose your challenge. Let's fold forward, grab our toes. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 more reps on this one just to kind of experiment and see where you are. On the last one, I'm going to show my side view again. So finding that nice expansive inhale, exhaling. As I pull my hips down, I'm being watchful to keep my chest lifted and my spine in neutral. So we want to avoid or watch out for like getting really like crunched forward and rounded, right? So I can't even do it from the bottom. So just finding that position where you can create a little tension on the shoulders to pull the shoulders down and back, keeping the chest lifted. That is what we are looking for. So let's roll on up. And then we're going to come back into that hip circling movement. And maybe we reach around for our back ankle, top of our foot. And we're going to do this little twisty movement here. So again, finding that space in the front side of the chest. Super nice. Whew. And then we'll go to the other side. So rotating a little bit maybe. Again, focus on, this is going to be a really great stretch, the front of the hip and the quad, but also this shoulder on the arm that's reaching back. I really love it for that. Okay, I'm going to shift to this side first. We are going to come into just a nice tall stacked position and experiment with, we're getting our energy up now. We've done our mobilization. Now we want to energize our body. So tuck your toes in the back leg. Make sure your hip is stacked over your knee. Front knee is stacked over the ankle. Exhale, and let's push the floor away, okay? So inhale, down. Exhale, press up. Starting to connect with our muscles. So as you get to the top, really squeeze the glutes and let that breath really flow. Inhaling down, exhaling as you're pressing. Oh yeah, 2 and 1. And then as we reach the top, let's repeat that nice big chest opener. This is also really stretching here in the front of the hip. And then let's transition through the center. Let your head drop in a wide-legged forward fold. Let your head be heavy. Feel free to shift around a little bit if that feels good for you. And then we're going to go to the other side to repeat that. So starting from the bottom, I've just rotated this way. So now I've got my opposite leg forward. Ankle is right underneath my knee. Hip is right over my other knee. I'm exhaling hard and pushing into the floor. So you'll notice the more you can squeeze this back glute, the more of a stretch you'll get here on the opposing side of the body. So that's like one of my favorite stretches, honestly. Okay, I think we get one more. Bring those arms out. Fan the arms open. This is all sort of like familiar. If you are a yogi, you may feel like this is very familiar to you. So let's come back down to the floor. We are going to do a little bit more isolated glute work and core work to really continue to bring the energy up in our muscles. So grab your roller again. I'm going to give you a couple of options. So option one, I'm going to leave the roller there for a second. You can plant your feet in line with your hips and knees and do a glute bridge here. If you haven't tried a glute bridge on your roller before, give it a go with me. It's going to be a smaller movement, but I've just got that roller right under my ankle and I'm driving my legs down into the roller and squeezing my glutes. So let's take a few more reps here. And if this feels fun and interesting, you can try one leg at a time. Pretty crazy. But make sure if you're lifting a leg off, don't forget the exercise is for the leg that's pushing down. So don't let this leg that's like lifting up into the air be a distraction. We're simply just getting it out of the way. So think about pushing downward into that roller. I hope you're feeling that energy flowing through the backs of your legs. Holy cow. Okay, so give your legs a little hug. Maybe make some little circles on the floor. This next one's gonna feel really good. Okay, so we've probably all done this like figure four stretch, sort of like a supine pigeon stretch. So if you are good with that, I want you to think about pushing into yourself. So giving yourself this like opposing tension, pushing your knee into your ankle and then pushing your ankle back into your knee. Lock your ribs down and we're gonna do a little reverse crunch. Woo, these are tough. So just to the degree that you feel your abs start to work, I'm gonna do about 8. Yeah, and then we'll go to the other side. So it's a double 2 for 1, stretch and strength. Again, apply that tension on the other side. This one does help to sort of flex that foot that's up on top of your quad. Ugh. Super hard for me to even tuck through these. Oh yeah. So it's just a little tiny, tiny curl up. All right, so give your knees a little hug. Oh, I'm feeling more energy. How about you? Yeah, I think so. Okay, next one. We're going to keep working on core. So again, lots of options when it comes to a movement like a side plank. You can be here and just hold a side plank. You can be here holding a side plank. Or if you want more, bring your bottom leg in front. And let's see if we can catch the roller and roll our knee up towards our wrist. So this is just kind of a fun, again, a new way to bring that roller into our workouts. Final challenge, stay with me. I want you to use your breath, lift your leg off the roller, and then find it again. Let's do a couple more. And again, choose your challenge. If you've been side planking for many, many years, you might be very welcoming and excited to try a new version. If you haven't done a side plank in many, many years, then maybe this is not for you today, but there are all kinds of other days to do these things. So again, knee down side plank is beautiful. Full side plank, also beautiful. Or join me for this challenge, bottom leg is gonna catch that roller, tucking your knee toward your wrist. See if you can smile through these. And then maybe we'll do 3 with that little lift, right? Oh God, these are tough. Yeah, so make sure you're staying nice and strong. Oh, maybe that was 4, sorry. Staying nice and strong through the shoulders. So let's shake them out. We have one more that's going to be very taxing on the shoulders. So give yourself a moment to recover. You are in the home stretch. Home stretch. So this is where we're really feeling the energy, hopefully feeling a lot more freedom for that energy to flow through our joints since we spent so much time mobilizing our body. So just notice how you feel maybe a little bit different. I know we're getting a little fatigue, but maybe that energy is flowing a little more freely too. So let's celebrate that. So again, I'm going to show you 2 versions. Depending on where you are in this moment, it might be very appropriate to do a bird dog exercise with yourself grounded on the mat. If you want more, this is one of my faves. If you've worked out with me for a while, you've probably done this before. We're going to put the roller under our shin again, kind of pigeon toe your toes in a little bit so it doesn't hit your shin bone. Your other leg is going to float. Don't worry, both arms are going to stay on the floor. We're going to just alternate, tucking our knees, keeping our belly button pulling up and away from the floor, keeping a nice long neck, breathing, working on smiling. Let's go for 3, 2, and 1. Oh, baby. Okay, other leg. So I'm just moving my roller there. Reset the shoulders. Make sure your gaze is somewhat down. Now you know the exercise, so work on keeping that neck neutral. Reach your other leg out. It helps to squeeze your glute on that lifted leg. And here we go. We're tucking. Use your exhales to really engage the core, engage the ribs. This is our last core exercise of the day, so make it count. 2 and 1. At least it's your last core exercise of this workout. Whatever you want to do after this, that's up to you. I might do some more core later. Okay, so getting nice and tall. Oh, shake out the shoulders. We're going to go into a curtsy squat, otherwise known as a drop lunge. I'm holding my roller. You'll start to see that I'm using it as a little bit of a guide to just get a little bit more movement in my upper body. We're going for 3 more on each side. And last one, set your roller off to the side. Take a nice ragdoll twist with me, just shaking out all that tension in the upper body. And let's conclude with another visit to that deep squat position. I'm going to go sideways to you again. Begin by rolling your shoulders down and back. Plant your palms together in a prayer pose. Plant your feet a little wider than your hips. And let's just see how we feel coming into this position as we conclude. So without judgment, just notice how that felt different and then maybe come all the way down to your seat. Hopefully there were some aha moments for you in this practice today, showing you where maybe your body is holding some tension and where you can create a little bit more space. And with that, I hope that this workout left you feeling energized. I hope it left you feeling empowered to how you can affect change in your own body. And I hope it just elevates your mind, body, and spirit for the rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining me.